Anyone with a basic understanding of economics, sociology, or artistic development will conclude that, as any culture, games hold properties that are overtly molded by everyday political shifts. With that in mind, what have been the most important political events and/or trends of the last decade? At the beginning of the decade, we saw the birth of games at academia and a few underground artsy game spaces like Baby Castles in New York City. But as we enter 2020s, video games are in gallery spaces such as Victoria and Albert Museum, MoMA, Barbican, and many others. 2019 even saw the inaugural summit of games curators in Argentina called Gaia. Games as art discourse is going to fully flourish in the next decade, and for one, I'm very excited for it. 2010 wasn't like the best year for video games. We still mostly saw buff white dudes rescuing the village, you know. This decade has really forever changed the cast and stories that come out of video games. We now see people of color as heroes, representatives of all marginalized genders and sexualities. It's been baby steps, but for once, after 50 years of the industry, we're even beginning to value stories that are not global north-centric too. Hopefully more of all this to come. Sadly, can't avoid this, right? It was huge. Many people will be written as to who won in the long term, but thus far I think there are like two lessons. It has demonstrated the power of outside political forces onto malleable gaming milieux, and it drew lines, exposed certain people and their stances. I'd argue that the games industry unionization movement wouldn't have grown as rapidly if it wasn't for Gamergate. What began as a Facebook group then blew up during GDC in 2018 and now has 30 local chapters across the world and 7 legal industrial unions. Games industry workers are finally realizing their value, organizing, educating the new generation about class composition, and it sure has been my personal privilege of the decade to be working with this inspirational lot of campaigners. In the last month of a decade, bit by bit, we're beginning to hear the games industry finally owning up to the fact that its hardware production models are profoundly harmful to the environment. Could we whisper of a dream of useful unions in the Foxconn factories in China forming in 2020s and the end of atrocities for minerals in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and then ethical console? Here's to a rad next decade, guys. We now have tools at our disposal, let's utilize them. You know, left, and up. I'm Mariam Dijgaluit, and thanks for watching. I'll see you on the other side.